Lovers and the Dreamers by Elizabeth Scarhart. Illustrated by the Mayor of Halia. Narrated by Elizabeth Scarhart. Chapter 4. A Nightly Visitor. That night, Papyrus found himself in a dark void. He looked around, seeing nothing but blackness. It was a world devoid of light. Even glowing his eyes didn't make a difference.
Brother!
A familiar voice called. Papyrus turned to see Sans, though how he could see anything in this place was a mystery to him.
Follow me, brother!
He called, running off. Papyrus ran after him. He didn't know where Sans was taking him, but he seemed to know where he was going. That was more than Papyrus could say about himself, and at least Sans wasn't just running off. He would stop every so often to look back and make sure Papyrus was still with him.
Where are we going?
Papyrus finally asked as he started to run out of breath. Sans stopped and turned, smiling at Papyrus.
Nowhere. Nowhere at all.
It was then that his skull began to melt, revealing a black, sticky form underneath it. His clothes slipped off into the puddle of white melted bone. Black, dripping tentacles sprung out of his back, waving around. Where Papyrus's brother once stood was a creature, similar in shape, but completely black, covered in ooze, and bearing only one off-center eye and a pure white, toothy grin.
Who are you? Papyrus demanded. Where is my brother?
Relax.
The being eased.
Sans is not actually positive for me listening right now. As for me, I am Comyet.
What do you want with me? Papyrus asked.
Stop.
Nightmare replied.
How are you really feeling right now? You don't tell me anything about your life else to your other. But in reality, it's something you've been fearing for quite some time now. After all, it is Sans' marriage to an universal being. What does that leave you
It's just paranoia, isn't it?
Jesus. After all, you've been waiting before.
Nightmare said.
You know what I'm about to say. The day your parents decided you and your mother should come along about.
The area began to change. It grew blistering hot. Papyrus could see lava around them. He recognized it. The sweltering heat, the sounds of steam and turning gears, the smell of metal and industry. It was the core. His parents used to work there. His mother had been the royal scientist after all, and his father was her assistant. Pap could see them there now, as dark shadows fussing over buttons and controls. That day, Muffet normally babysat them, but that day she'd finally opened the bakery of her dreams. Papyrus and his twin brother had been taken to the lab for the day, so Muffet could get her business up and running. She'd go back to looking after them in a few weeks once things had settled down. For now, Sans and Papyrus were to stay in a safe area near the core, where his parents could watch them. It had been a little after lunchtime when it happened. The two boys, only 4 years old, had been put down for a nap in a low cot in a safe area. Papyrus had woken up thirsty and had gone to the window where he could see his parents. He was about to call to them when there had been a loud, fiery explosion. Papyrus watched it all play out in front of his eyes for... He had lost track of how many times he'd seen this in his dreams. He heard his own younger voice scream, crying at the top of his lungs for his mommy and daddy to come for them. His screams woke his brother, whom Papyrus held onto instinctively. Because he was so much taller, Sans could not see the flame-ridden carnage just outside the window. Eventually, the royal guard had found them after hours of Papyrus sitting there holding his brother, wailing until his voice was almost gone. The guards gently told the two boys that their mother had died. The explosion had pushed her into the core. They were then taken to their father, who looked down at the two. Papyrus and Sans hugged him in relief, but it was short-lived.
Hello, children. What are your names?
Their father asked. The boys backed up, not believing it. Papyrus told his father to stop joking around, but it was no joke. The doctor explained that their father had lost all of his memories, likely permanently. As the shadows faded, Papyrus could not control his tears. Nightmare made a pitying sound with his tongue.
Poor child. Someone went to your mother's death at such a young age, and you're own father hates you without you completely alone.
No, Papyrus couldn't make himself believe this being.
I wasn't. Muffet took us in, raised us like we were her own.
And yet, neither of you have ever had the heart to call her mother. You love your lost father more than you'll ever love her.
Nightmare reminded him.
Love my brother more than any of them.
Papyrus feebly countered.
I know you, I know. And yet, look who you are. Mother's not needy for another man. And let's face it, neither. After all, you're amazing, changed solution, that is survival. And well, the whole multiverse says she's amazing.
Papyrus felt cold down to his marrow. It was a thought he'd been trying to stave off. But Nightmare was right. Sans was going to abandon him, just as his father had. The tears came faster as he curled in on himself, admitting defeat.
What do I do?
He whimpered.
Small,
Nightmare told him.
she will love your names. She knows yours. You're his lover. You should know how to do that.
The dream ended. Papyrus lay in his bed, shaking as uncontrollable tears soaked his pillow. Keep Sans from ink? No, he couldn't do that! But it looked as if doing so would stop the relentless nightmares. He sat up, rubbing his eyes, and walked across the hall, peeking into his brother's room. It was 4 a.m. Sans was still asleep, hugging his pillow in bliss. Papyrus smiled for a moment and then turned away. No. He wouldn't take ink away from Sans. He'd do what he must to protect his brother, even from himself. The area began to change. It grew blistering hot. Papyrus could see lava behind them. Not behind them, around them. If it was behind him, he couldn't see it. He wouldn't take ink away from Sans. He'd do what he must to protect his brother, even from himself.
Okay, see how much better I do when I'm not trying to do action scenes? Future me, get your act together.